Hey VC, it's Alexander from Wax and Wine. It has been so long since my last video. I apologize. Someone just nudged me on YouTube on the comments section too. Fully in agreement with that person saying I needed to get back on it. Let's talk about some wine real quickly. Oh my God, almost knocked that over. Would have been for the blooper reel for YouTube. So in my fancy glassware, Trediberri. So 3 friends working together. Oop, was that even in focus? My God. So 3 friends working together in Piedmont. So you're in the northwest of Italy. Nebbiolo is the king grape. This is 2023 vintage. It is very fresh. This is bringing a lot of strawberries and raspberries. I'm going to be honest, this is a very vaunted producer, very hot in the wine world. It's a little primary, as you would expect for such a young wine. I would say maybe give it a moment. I just wanted to evaluate, see where it was. It's delicious, but it's definitely on the juice side. Not a lot of structure, not too much tannin. Acidity is high, but that's what you expect. Nebbiolo, light-skinned grape. So red fruit, pretty much always. Nebbiolo refers to kind of the foggier region that it grows in, right? As reference to fog. It generally packs a lot of acidity and a lot of tannin. Here, I'm not getting as much tannin. I'm getting much softer mouthfeel. And again, very primary, very strawberry, raspberry up front. So I will lock up my other bottles, take a sip, and we will talk about records. All right, so I go to a lot of thrift stores, right? We know about this. This is going to be a thrift store vinyl finds. And it might look like I get lucky all the time. I really don't. I go a ton. I go like 5 to 6 times a week now. But these are kind of some significant digs. So the first one was at a boutique. And what I like about the Goodwill boutique is it doesn't put stickers on the records. So now this first set of records will all be $2.99. Every one of the records, except for the last one, is in VG Plus or better shape. So the first record I saw in there, Herbie Man live at the Village Gate. This is a Speaker's Corner reissue, so audiophile, and it sounds fantastic. It really is great material, straight ahead jazz, the very famous jazz flautist, but can play other instruments as well. Took me a long time before I embraced Herbie Man. You know, you don't see a lot of people talk about that player, but just really beautiful music. I think Herbie Man records way over deliver for their price. So he's played with great artists from like Roy Ayers to great saxophonists. So it's worthwhile, and you can get those records for cheap. The next one, I'm a big fan of Willie's Roadhouse on Sirius XM. Occasionally Jeannie Seely does a Sunday morning show. Never had this record. This is the RSD release that came out on yellow vinyl. This is really, really clean. This is her song Harper Valley PTA, kind of about a girl who's pretty provocative in the parent-teacher meetings there, and it becomes a distraction. It's a fantastic song, and it's a pretty good record. Next one, in the same whole collection, Jacqueline Dupre. So the wife of Daniel Barenboim, the famous pianist and conductor. This is her doing the Elgar concertos conducted by Sir John Barbioli. This is an original Angel stereo press, super clean. There's a little love on the jacket, but the music itself is flawless. Hard for me to lay off classical, especially if I get like a great soloist, and that's exactly, she had a very short career. She passed away tragically, very young. So there's all this like potential, right? If you think about it from a jazz perspective, you're looking at like a Clifford Brown. Who knows where they could have gone? They're gone too quick. So before I found that classical piece, though, I actually saw a little collection of R&B. So there was like a bunch of Earth, Wind, and Fire records, and I thought, oh, this is a good sign. So then I did leave with this, the Ohio Players' Greatest Hits on Westbound. That's a gatefold. That is, again, the jackets have a little love. I'd call them VG probably for most of the jackets, but the records themselves are great. This was the biggest surprise of the bunch. Obviously, the last record I'll show you from this first collection is also a pretty big deal, but I didn't really think too much when I saw Art Pepper. I was like, great, 1980s Art Pepper, you know. Played this record quite a bit, in fact. It is probably one of my favorite recent pickups in the jazz realm. This is a guy who had tough drug problems, kind of goes straight later in life, and fantastic player throughout his career. So like if you're lucky enough to find like the Pepper Pot or some of these early pressings like on Discovery, and then to find that stuff in the 80s, that's a little bit easier to find. Always good across the board. Just a fantastic sax player. And the last one, I must have seen a guy like Dots and Loops or someone talk about this like years ago on the VC. So I had recognized the cover, but I'll be honest, even though I found the animated egg, and this isn't original on the, or I guess very early press, if it's not an original, on Alshire Records. This is great. This is great stuff. This is the only record, I would be honest, is like a VG shape, but it has kind of that Blue Note effect where even though you're seeing a lot of action on the vinyl itself, it plays very nicely. So, and then whatever pops and clicks you might have because of that music being a little bit more rock, it doesn't affect the play at all. So very happy to find that. I actually think I might have left behind another significant psych record, but whatever, that's not really my forte, and maybe somebody else just made a whole VC video about it, right? That they found this epic rare record at Goodwill. Found this one today, so this is super cool. Again, right, I can't be complaining too much. I paid $1.99 for this. This is Leonard Cohen, The Songs of Leonard Cohen. This comes out in 1967. The copy I find is from 1968. It is a very clean stereo copy. I don't know why I'm taking it out. This takes too much time, but yeah. But the coolest thing was it has its original lyrics. So super fun to have that. I like when you get all the pieces with it, right? As you guys saw last time with my Pink Floyd finds. Again, like I said, classical, hard to lay off. This is a very famous soloist, Nathan Milstein. This is him at the end of his career here with Eugen Joachim, the conductor. There's Milstein there, and he's doing the Brahms Violin Concerto. I think if you start to get into classical, what you like to see, you know, I learned this from my dad and grandfather, but like you do want to see how other players put out and other conductors put out the same piece. How do they attack certain passages, right? Think about like Bernstein on the first Mahler, and it sounds so different than how other conductors put out that piece, right? So Milstein for me is one of the best, and anytime I find one of his records, I go for it. The Montreal Canadian artist again. Boom, Leonard Cohen, Songs of Love and Hate. This one cost me $2.99. This is a 1971 release, so this was an original stereo copy. It is super, super beautiful music. I'm very into that folk music. I have all of his stuff on CDs, so it's been very nice to find this on vinyl. Okay, now this last dig that I found. So those are kind of my highlights since the last time I've done a video. I went to a thrift store. You just don't know what you're gonna find. Sometimes I'm looking for other stuff too, and like housewares kind of things. And I go to their records, and I had only been here once before, and I didn't find anything, so I really didn't expect this, but I see a whole collection of records on the ground, and I go, oh, that's interesting. I saw immediately was the Jimi Hendrix record, Are You Experienced or whatever, was on the top, and I was like, oh. And then I go behind it, and it's like Rolling Stones, and then it's more Rolling Stones, and then it's more Rolling Stones, and then it's more Jimi Hendrix, and then it's the Doors, and then it's like, oh God, and then there was B.B. King, there's Grateful Dead. So I call my girlfriend, she's at a different part of this thrift store, and I go, hey, you have to come over here right now, I gotta get a shopping cart, I'm about to take like 75 records home, this is wild. So she comes over, she meets me, she goes, whoa, you look like a caged animal, like just calm down, right? So I go and grab the shopping cart, I rotate back around, and then I see there's like a whole wall of records that had just dropped, and then I see a sign above it, and it says $8.99 for every record. To me, that's pretty lame. I understand why these thrift stores do that. They don't want to do the research, they don't want to pay somebody to come in, they just want to make the most they can on the records, but you're getting it for free. Like, do you need to like make that much money on it, right? For the people who aren't flippers, it's nice for us to get the win, right? Like, I'm buying records all the time. I buy expensive records, which will be my next video. I promise I pay money for records, but man, is it nice to buy records for like $3 and get something great. You know, that just feels nice. So here's what I left with. Instead of leaving with 75 records, I left with 9. And this was a good opportunity for me to add some Jimi Hendrix. So these were a lot of later presses and a lot of gatefold stuff, like concerts and things. So I get this. A lot of the records I found, especially the rarer stuff, Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street, things like that, Sticky Fingers, those records were a little rough. There's Led Zeppelin, it was like kind of everything you could think of. Phil Collins, Yes, Traffic. So we had Prague, you had Peter Gabriel, then you had Gentle Giant. I was thinking of Bill at Vinylverse. I was like, oh, this is my time to get Gentle Giant. And then I thought, do I want it for $9 or should I try to get something else? And so I kept going. So more Jimi Hendrix. I watch Bob Bradley, right? And he'll talk about Jimi Hendrix, but the guy plays guitar, right? So it makes sense. This is contextually so important for guitar. I don't think there could be like a more important rock and roll guy. Maybe predecessor to him, right? Like a Chuck Berry or someone. But for what Jimi Hendrix does with the instrument, it's like, yikes. What is this? 9 to the Clouds or whatever. What is it called? 9 to the Universe. All cool stuff. Jackets, again, a lot of these jackets are in BG. This is the only record I left with that's probably in a BG shape. Bongo Fury. I bought this because it has Captain Beefheart. I left behind another really rare Zappa record. I love Zappa. I think he's so fucking cool. Little Stevie Ray Vaughan, Double Trouble. So this is the cheapest I've ever paid for a Stevie Ray Vaughan record, so that was cool. Got this. This is the only kind of wanker in the bunch, the David Live. I was a little shocked. Not my favorite live set. I'm going to give that one a second listen, but that might go on to a trade pile because it doesn't do anything for me. Led Zeppelin, boom, number 3. Like I said, number 2 was a little rough, so, and I honestly have 4 copies of Led Zeppelin 2. Very cool. Very happy to have this. Now, these next 2 records are probably my favorites that I left with. I had a CD of this growing up. My parents did. And I listened to this and Van Morrison pretty much all the time from their music. So this is Sam Cooke live at the Harlem Square Club. This interplay for a live set is absolutely fantastic. So again, you see there's some wear here on the jacket. The vinyl itself is pristine. So again, this is like an 80s press. This could also contend for the best find in that set. Something Else by the Kinks. Bada boom, bada bing. Early repress. This is on an orange R. But what I really loved, because I love Waterloo Sunset, but somebody jammed another Kinks record in there, and I was very happy to have that. That was Arthur, the Decline of the Western yada yada. So I love Victoria. I love that album too. Again, these are things I had a lot of CDs of. Very happy to add Ray Davies and the Kinks to my collection. So yeah, paid $9 for all of those, but I was happy with what I left with. Again, I left probably some very serious records behind, but the condition wasn't right. So that's what I've been up to. Been working a lot at my restaurant in LA. Buying a lot of records, searching for a lot of records. My next video will be records I spent more than $9 on. But I'll just keep you apprised of some cool vinyl finds. Thank you for watching. Sorry for my absence. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.